I started implementing Dr. Bresson's protocol with Mom, tackling the first area, nutrition. Alzheimer's is called type 3 diabetes. I looked up Mom's lab results. It turns out her A1C level has steadily gone up from normal to 6.3 in the past 5 years. And her glucose was 197 last year. But her doctor never mentioned a thing to us. The Bresson's protocol recommends at least 12 hours between the time that we finish dinner to the time that we start breakfast. And for dementia patients, preferably 16 hours. It also recommends at least 3 hours between finishing dinner and bedtime. Since it is very challenging for Dad to adopt the new practices, my sister and I decided to have Mom at our places 5 days a week. We greatly reduced the amount of carbs and moved dinner from 6:30 to 5. Added a lot of healthy fat. I cut my workload by 1/3 so that I can focus more on taking care of Mom. I also ate the same thing that I prepared for Mom so that she wouldn't be asking for the carbs that I was having. In a few months, Mom's glucose level went down to below 100. I did a lot of research and came across Dr. Newport's work, helping her husband to have astonishing improvements using keto. And I read every single word in this book to be fully equipped with the research data. I started supplementing Mom with coconut oil. After a month, did more research and started her exogenous keto. During this time, we continued giving Mom Chinese medicine herbs because we know it improves her energy level and her mood. The exogenous ketone tasted awful. I tried different brands, forms, ways to prepare it, but didn't help. One day I gave Mom a dosage of exogenous ketone. She had a sip and put it down to rest. I turned around for a moment. When I looked back, Mom was washing her cup. Well, there it goes. The time and energy in preparing it down the drain. Mom kept complaining about having no appetite, and she sometimes burps while eating. For some people, this is welcoming because they needed to lose weight, but not for Mom. So in my head, I was debating because from Chinese medicine point of view, it's very important for people to have healthy appetite. So what is this really benefiting Mom from that point of view? But I thought maybe we have to sacrifice that part of health for possible cognitive gain. Then I wanted to implement some of the rest of the protocol. For example, exercising. But it was very difficult for me to get Mom to exercise more. Mom's energy level improved a little, but her cognition didn't. For example, when it comes time for her to take a shower, it may take 3-4 hours on a good day if she finally agrees. And also she keeps on waking up in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m. and will be looking for her hair dryer for an hour and blamed Dad for stealing it. I started getting more and more concerned of Dad's health. How long can he last taking care of Mom? I was also getting burned out myself with the juggling and the concern, feeling hopeless. My younger daughter Maggie had a talk with me. I said, I feel quite stuck. Trying to be a daughter, a doctor, nutritionist, PT. And Maggie said, Mom, nobody can do everything. Would you please give one of the roles, like the doctor, to somebody else? Because we don't want to see a 90-year-old grandma recovering from dementia only to have a 60-year-old mom getting it. She's right. One day I was sitting in church listening to the story of this Olympic marathon runner who would give his all during the first half of the running, and then he would let God run the second half. And he actually runs faster during the second half. So I thought to myself, well, I'm definitely giving it my all. So maybe it's time to let God do the running during the second half of the marathon. I decided to look for a physician who practices Dr. Bresson's protocol. Before, I was not sure whether it would help Mom or not. So I was not willing to invest 100 grand to the program. But that day I thought, well, let me dive in and give it a full chance and see what happens. If it wins, gives Mom 1 year of an easier life, it will be worth it. So I found a practitioner in DC, and we went there, had the first doctor's visit and a blood draw. We were told that we would need to have a memory test, and afterwards the doctor will see us again with the result from the labs and from the memory visit so that he can come up with a plan. And Mom will be taking lots of supplements every day, and there will be different aspects involved in the program. So I went home very happily, but when we tried to schedule the memory visit, it was 4 months away. So right now we are still waiting for that visit. A psychotherapist from the program contacted me, but Mom is nowhere near the position where she could benefit from psychotherapy. And they also have a weekly yoga class that can be very helpful, but not for Mom. We signed up for the RECODE program that is very comprehensive, trying to tackle dementia from many different angles. Part of it is the Brain XQ program. I checked it out. It is quite impressive, addressing many different aspects of the function of the brain. And it even has in the Chinese version. So I was very happy and signed Mom for the program. But it turns out it's very difficult for Mom because she would either wander mentally or physically and not do much with the program. Oh well, nowadays I signed myself up for it, and I practice whenever I get a chance. I definitely notice improvements in my observation skill, in focus, and in memory. So my goal is to keep practicing so that hopefully I will be at a better place mentally for me and my family. So it became clear that it is difficult for Mom to benefit from the program. I think some people who still has the motivation to do things on their own, or if they have a whole support team that can help them implement it, I can see it can be very beneficial, but not for us, since mom and dad lives by themselves and I'm still working. So we are stuck again. Just then, a very good friend contacted me to share the progress of her mom. Her mom was in hospice care with 3 months to live because of terminal metastatic cancer. It got so bad that one day they were looking at details of funeral, and her mom was in so much pain. She asked for forgiveness again and again that night. The next morning, she woke up and saw mom sitting there peacefully, without pain. With faith and Chinese medicine herbs, her mom was living symptom-free, happily, for 2 years. Her encouragement was a godsend. Wow. Miracles do happen with such deep faith and Chinese medicine herbs. A light bulb went off. Maybe I need to communicate with Dr. Lee better. So I emailed him. Surprise! There is more that Chinese medicine can do. We started seeing him again. Under his guidance, we stopped exogenous ketone and coconut oil. And right away, mom's appetite improved. No more burping when she eats. She is much happier because the only thing she never complained about taking was Chinese medicine herbs. And the whole family became more relaxed because it's much easier to implement. Last time, after I shared mom's story, a few friends came to me and said, wow, it was a miracle that you could get mom to wear hearing aids because we couldn't. Well, there have been many challenges. For example, her prescription between both ears are quite different because she has a hole in the membrane of one ear. So we need to make sure that she wears the right side on her right ear. Even though I kept telling mom that red is for right, she came up with the idea that it was the doctor's right that was red, so it is her left. No matter how hard we tried to explain and to label the hearing aids with left and right in English or Chinese, she insisted on her own logic. And to the point that one day I even doubted myself. Maybe I was the one that got it wrong. And I checked her chart because she was so sure of it. And finally, I was going to give up and just label it the opposite way so that to fit her logic. But I didn't do it because I don't want to cause, what if it caused even more confusion? So one day I was in the middle of trying to convince her that red is right. Again, Maggie came home to visit, so she took over. She spent an hour and a half with my mom. She listened to what grandma has to say, and she tried different ways to explain. Finally, she figured out what the confusion was and labeled the right side right ear instead of right. And that finally solved the problem. So this whole time, all the rest of us have been trying to tell mom what to do, with no success. While what Maggie did was actually listened and listened to mom. One day, dad got blamed by mom again. And he was so frustrated and said, why is she behaving like this? I was a little surprised because I have gone way past the why stage. And I have been so busy researching and implementing, keeping on, moving on to the next step. I didn't realize that I never got dad up to speed. And dad couldn't catch up because he doesn't read a lot of English and because he has extremely poor eyesight, almost like half blind. So it's also very difficult for him to read in Chinese. So how could he catch up with the rest of us? I found a few audiobooks in Chinese written by family members taking care of dementia patients. Hearing similar experiences from other families helped put things into perspective and reduce the unknown and frustration. Dad actually listened to one of the books, Mothering My Mom, 8 times. Afterwards, he said, I have to change myself. Did those words really come out of my dad, an 84-year-old man who has been a little stubborn and hot-tempered all of his life? I had the softest heart-to-heart conversation with him ever and left their apartment in peace.